Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So far, we've covered functions, pointers, conditionals, and loop. Today, we'll look at another very common beginner problem in C, finding the sum of digits of a number. And we are going to apply all the various principles, concepts we've learned in the previous videos. Now, before we jump in, let me give you a brief recap of the concept. In C, there are two operators that are very important for the task we want to accomplish today. They are the modulo operator, which is represented by the percent symbol. And then we have the division operator, which is represented by just the backslash. Now, with the modulo operator, it works just the same as modulo in mathematics. It gives us back the remainder of a division. So for instance, if you divide 123 by 10, the remainder is 3. You see, so that's what modulo does. Now, the interesting thing about the modulo operator is when you have any digits and you find the modulo of that digit with 10, it always gives you the last digit of the number. So let me take that again. When you have a number and you take that number and you find its modulo with 10, what you get is the last digit of that number. So 12 modulo 10 gives us 2, which is the last digit of 12. 51 modulo 10 gives us 1, which is the last digit of 51. 155 modulo 10 gives us 5. Why? Because 10 will go into 155 times, 15 times, remainder 5. You see, so what happens is that anytime we use the modulo operator with 10, we take a number and we find modulo 10. What we get is the last digit. So modulo 10 extracts the last digit for us. So you can put that down here. That modulo 10 extracts the last digits for us. Okay. And also we have the division operator. And what the division operator does is that since it's between integers, it returns to you just an integer value. Okay. So what happens is that in C programming, when you say you do 120 divided by 5, okay, you know that's 24. Good, that will work out perfectly. But for instance, when you do something like 5 divided by 3, we know 5 divided by 3 will be 1.666666 recurrent. Okay, but in C, when you define your numbers as integers, when it divides 5 by 3, it doesn't give you the decimal. It only gives you the, let me say, the first value, the quotient, which is 1. So 5 divided by 3, if 5 is an integer and 3 is an integer in your C program, will give you 1. You see, so that's what integer division does. Now, the interesting thing about integer division, again, is that when you have a number and you divide it by 10, what it does is that it gets rid of the last digit. So for instance, if you have 123 and you perform the integer division operation on it, the final answer you get is 12, which effectively eliminates the last digit. Okay, so our magic number or gold number here is 10. So one thing you know, or as I've said, is that when you divide n by 10, you perform integer division. It removes the last digits. Okay, now why is this important for us? What we are trying to do in this challenge is we are presented with a 5-digit number. We need to return the sum of the digits. So for example, if you have the number 12345, which is 12,345, when you type that into your program should return the sum of that, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is eventually going to be 15. You get it? So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to add all the digits. Now, in adding all the digits, we need to find a way to let our program know the last digits, right? The fourth digits, the third digit, second and first, and then add everything together. And that's where these operations come in. So what we are going to do, our concept or our process is, we are going to first get the last digits. Okay. Then we'll remove the last digits. And then we'll repeat till we finish. So when we get the last digits, we'll keep it somewhere. We'll remove it. And then we'll have now a new last digit, which is effectively the fourth digit. We'll sum that, we'll add that to the previous last digits, and then we'll rinse and repeat. That's what we are going to do. Now, in doing this, to apply what we've already learned, functions, pointers, loops, we are going to create a function, two functions actually. So we are going to create a function to get the last digits, and we are going to create a function to remove the last digits. Now, let's do that here at the top. So our function to get the last digit. So what will happen for this function is going to return an integer, which is the last digit, with the return type with the int. It will be called get last digits. One thing I think I didn't mention is when you are writing functions, make sure the name of your function describes what it does. It makes your program more readable and make more sense to you when you want to review it another time. Okay, so get last digits, and it's going to take in an integer. So let's say integer number, and you can create a variable called last digits. Last digits will be equal to the number that was passed modulo 10. And then we are just going to return that. So this is our function to get the last digits. Now our function to remove the last digits. Now, our function to remove the last digit will not return any integer, so the data type is going to be void. Okay. Now, apart from that, we want to remove the last digit. In order to make this simple, what we are going to do is remove the last digit and store it directly within the number. We are going to access the pointer. Okay, we're going to have the pointer which points directly to the memory address where the number is being stored and update it. So let's say the user types in 10,564. Okay, what we are going to do is that memory address, that location, we are going to be editing and updating that to reflect we removing the last digit. So let's say after the first iteration, we are going to have 1056. We'll store 1056 within that variable, which in this case is this n. So in that case, our remove last digit should take a pointer as an int. So that's going to be like this, a pointer to the number, and then we'll write our code. So to remove the last digit, all we have to do is say number is equal to number divided by 10. That's all. So now this asterisk here, the dereference operator, we already talked about that. I explained that in detail. If you don't have an idea about it, you can check out my video on pointers. So asterisk number divided by 10 will effectively remove the last digit, and then we'll reassign that to asterisk number so that the number will now store the new number that we want, which is one digit short of the previous. So now that we've done that, let's write our code. So now since it's a 5-digit number, we just need a loop that runs 5 times. So that's going to be for int I equals 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. And what are we going to do? We're going to create a variable which stores the sum of the digits. So I'm going to create that variable here actually. So sum of digits is equal to 0. Okay. I didn't create it inside the for loop because what will happen is when you create it inside the for loop, because the for loop keeps iterating and we are declaring the variable within the for loop, it will always be instantiated to 0. So we will not actually have the sum. Okay. So now within the for loop, we are going to say the sum of digits is equal to, now we get the last digit of the number. Okay. So the sum of digits is equal to the sum of the last digits of the number. Sorry, it's supposed to be plus equal to digits. And then what do? We remove the last digits. But then we have to pass in a pointer to the address of hash. So what is this doing? This is saying get the last digit of n, add it to this variable. Okay. Then after that, you remove the last digits. Then repeat the process. So that's what we are doing. So this is what we are doing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. In the first iteration, what will happen is sum of digits, let me just make it SOD, will be equal to 5 because we will get the last digits. So when we get the last digits 5, that will be stored in sum of digits. Then after that, we'll remove the last digits. So now this is the number that will be stored, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll get the last digit again, which is 4. Then we'll come and add it to this. So plus 4. Then we'll remove the last digits. Then we'll get the last digit again. So plus 3. Then we'll remove the last digits. We'll get the last digit again. Plus 2. Then we'll remove the last digits. Then we'll get the last digit again. Plus 1. And then we'll be done with the 5 iterations. Then we'll sum all this and then present that as the final result. So now to complete this code, we just have to print out the sum of the last digits. Sorry, the sum of all the digits, which is this. That is it. So now let's run the code. And yes, it works out. Let's submit and see if it passes all the test cases. And it does. So that's it for today's video.